Hello, good evening, and welcome to Mindset Shifts and the What Ifs, a weekly show where we talk about the things that happen in our professional lives and how we deal with them and all the things that come up in our heads about what if this happens? What if it goes that way? What if I get in trouble? What if I get fired? What if I hate my career? What if I hate my job? What if? So welcome. If you're here with us tonight, say hi in the chat, or, ask a question. If you don't know me, my name is Lauren Lefkowitz. I'm an executive coach, and I support women in executive and emerging executive positions. And I help them to figure out how they actually want their careers and their work lives and ultimately their whole lives to go, and help them actually go after that. We get to a point in our lives, in our careers, where we hit an age, and that's different for everyone. It could be in your late 20s, it could be in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, beyond, where we think like, this is it. This is what I get. This is kind of a bummer. And I don't want anyone to live that way. I don't think we deserve to live that way. I lived that way myself for quite a while, working 80+ hour weeks, and took control of my life and made different decisions for myself. And now I don't even work 40 hours a week most weeks. So if you are joining me and you are seeing me face forward, you're seeing me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube. If you're seeing me up and to the side just a little bit, you're seeing me on Instagram. I every week will spin a wheel, and the wheel will choose a topic for me. If you're on Instagram, you won't be able to see the wheel, but I will tell you what gets chosen. But everywhere else, let's pull up the wheel and see what tonight's topic will be. All right, here is our wheel, and let's begin. Side effects. Yes. Ooh, amazing. Cool. So our topic tonight is which, if you're looking at that as a topic, you may think, Lauren, you're not a physician. Why are you going to talk to us about side effects? And I'm going to talk to you about side effects because side effects don't just come from medical stuff. They do come from medical stuff. I am proof of that. If there is a side effect you can have from a medical situation or a medication, I've had it. But that is not what I'm talking about tonight. I am talking about the side effects of your career. And as a busy professional, as a person who, if you have stumbled across me or we're connected, I typically attract a similar type of person, the type of person who identifies as high achieving, could be high achieving in a type A or type B kind of way, but puts a lot of pressure on themselves to do everything for everyone, and has trouble setting boundaries, may self-identify as a workaholic or people pleaser. And so everything we do has side effects, right? So if I sleep late one day and I've missed my alarm, when I wake up, one side effect might be panic because now I'm late to something and I don't know how I'm going to make up the time or catch up or get to where I need to get to. If I wake up and I didn't actually need the alarm, I'm just in the habit of setting the alarm, then the side effect might be like, well, that was nice, like a nice relaxed feeling. I slept through my alarm. I didn't need it. How nice is it that I got to sleep in? So side effects that happen are based on the situation that happens, and then the after effect of like what the result is of your decision or indecision. And how that shows up in our careers is how we feel about what's going on around us. And I talk about this a lot. I'm going to talk about it again tonight in this context. But when we start our careers, when high achievers start our careers and we get invited into things, we are so flattered. It's like if you were alive in the 80s, it's like being discovered in the mall as a singer, right? Or a model. Like that happened all the time in the 80s and doesn't happen now because everything's so accessible on social media. But in the 80s, you heard these stories of like the Debbie Gibsons and Tiffany's being found in the mall and then becoming mall tour performers. So the side effect of them singing out loud was that they got discovered and they got to sing. In our world today, I kind of went off topic with that one. I'm not quite sure where that metaphor was going. So I'm going to tuck it away and I might come back to it. Oh, yes. I remember. I didn't even need to tuck it away. So when we are in our careers and we get invited in, we get discovered in the mall. See, I knew it would come back. We get discovered in the mall. We get discovered for something we're good at. We get recognized that we are skilled at something. We finish a project and our boss brags to somebody else that we finished that project. And somebody on another team says, ooh, we could really use that. Do you mind if we borrow that person for a little bit? And then you get to show off your new skills. And that is really cool and really flattering. And at the beginning of your career, until like, a couple of years in when you're established, there's this like proving yourself period where you want people to notice you. You want people to ask you to do more stuff. And you want people to invite you into the room and to the seat at the table. So the side effect of being asked to do extra work, the side effect of being asked to participate often early in your career is need. Like, I'm flattered. Thank you. Me? You're picking me? And you get this like boost of confidence. You get this energy. You get this sort of hopefulness of what your career can become because you're being recognized for these things that you weren't necessarily hired for. And so you may then, go out to happy hour with your friends or have dinner with your family and talk about with so much energy, like what you got invited into, what you've been trusted with, what is on your plate that wouldn't have been on your plate if you hadn't demonstrated that you knew and could do these things. Then there's this sort of tipping point where like, it's cool that you're getting asked to do things, but it's like a lot of things. So it still feels like good and flattering. And also your brain is like, how am I going to fit this all in? So the side effects change from this is amazing. I feel great about myself. My ego is boosted. I feel confident. I'm learning. I'm contributing. And then it shifts to this tipping point of, it's cool that they're asking me to do stuff, but like, I'm not sure how I'm going to fit this in. So our stress levels start to go up. Our worry that we're going to look weak or lazy if we don't say yes to things, that worry level goes up. Our anxiety about getting all of our work done, because every time we say yes to something, it basically ends up on our plates forever and we make it look easy. So it doesn't look like we're actually that busy. So then we get more stuff and more stuff and more stuff. And then we tip all the way over into these side effects of, I don't want this. I can't believe I ever asked for it. I can't believe that this is what I wanted. And so when we tip over this tipping point from flattered to like, okay, but, and then all the way over to like, this is too much, too hard, too busy or boring or whatever it is, we move into this space where the side effects are more painful than the treatment of being a trusted colleague. And so even though we're not talking in a medical sense of things, we put ourselves in the position initially of being awesome. So we got trusted. So we got to do stuff. And then we were expected to do stuff. And now we've fallen off the cliff and we don't want to do any stuff and we don't know how to get out of it. And hey, Kristen. Oh, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. That's huge. Getting recognized for things you weren't even hired for. That's what got me. Yeah, that totally got me. And then I hit the cliff, right? And you've noticed your daughter's generation is not doing this as much. Yes. Less trying to prove and more staying true to themselves and their needs. Totally. And that's going to shift the landscape of the workforce. I think, especially for women, because I think men historically and typically have been better at not taking on as much. And this is like, I am generalizing, and I know this is not all anything, but I have noticed in my anecdotal work that women tend to be more likely to take on more and more and more. So, Kristen, we're going to look at like the next generation and the next generation. And as Gen Xers and millennials, we are going to be bitter and jealous if we don't take control and change things. And that's not what we want. That's not what I want for you. It's not what you want for yourself. And also, we get to this point in our careers where we've hit that tipping point. We don't want to have these side effects, which now are always exhausted, missing plans with friends and family, afraid to say no to anything because you've always said yes to everything, afraid that if you do say no, you will look super disconnected. You will look actively disengaged. You will look like you're quiet quitting, which is like, you know, everybody's favorite phrase from the last couple of years. And we worry about that even more because the younger generations are coming in and they're not tolerating this. To Kristen's point, they're not tolerating this. And because they're not tolerating this, there's like a grumble, grumble, grumble from the top of these kids these days, nobody wants to work, which I don't know if you've seen it on Instagram, but there is an Instagram like carousel of newspaper clippings from like 150 years of people being quoted saying nobody wants to work anymore. So this happens in every generation. We're not in a special set of generations. But when you're Gen X, when you're a millennial, when you are a younger boomer who's still in the workforce, you don't want to look any kind of like you're doing anything wrong. So the side effects to you are added stress, exhaustion, missing things. I have clients who come to me all the time and say, like, I just want to go to my daughter's dance recital and I don't feel like I can step away because A, I have too much work, and B, I don't want to be like found missing. And so we sort of lose ourselves in the compulsion to keep working as hard as we have always worked. But what we don't realize is we're actually working harder than we've ever worked, because we have gotten more work and more work and more work, and we've tucked it away and we've made it look doable and we've made it seem manageable. And because we smile and we are helpful people and we care and we're compassionate, there's an assumption that like we can take on anything. And after exhaustion and missing things comes losing touch with friends, losing touch with family members, being unable to relax if you do have downtime because there's this anxiety that you're missing things. So what do you do? Right? This is the part where I give you like a really easy answer that's not actually as easy as it seems, because we're humans and it's a very challenging human thing to do, to stop taking on stuff like that all of a sudden. But and we have a comment from LinkedIn user. I'm sorry that I can't see who you are. The app doesn't have permission, but great comment. I stopped taking on more, going above and beyond when I was not receiving any benefit from it. Why do extra work for no recognition, career progression, or increased pay? I drew the line when I worked extra shifts when it was, quote, greatly needed and an opportunity for me, when it actually wasn't. And I miss seeing a family member for what would have been the last time I saw her before she passed. Oh, I'm so sorry. One of my biggest regrets was not setting a boundary and saying no to something that was not my responsibility so that I could have that time with them. Oh, it's Haley. Hi, Haley. Gosh, that is awful. Yeah, we miss things, right? And it's unfortunately for Haley and everyone else, it's unfortunately the really hard lessons that lead us to change. For me, the start of my transition out of 80 to 100-hour work weeks was that I broke both of my shoulders because I was like distracted by everything. And I ran across my living room crashed down and broke both of my shoulders. And I was out of my life and out of work for like 4 months. And I went back and I went right back into the cycle of 80+ hour work weeks and people pleasing and catching up and having work dumped back on me when I came back into the office. And then I realized if I keep staying in this cycle, I'm going to like sometimes have broken shoulders and sometimes be working all the time. And that wasn't for me. And it is not something that I want for my clients, for the people in my community, for anybody who resonates with words like workaholic and people pleaser and type A and high achiever, that you don't have to give your whole life to work. So here I'm coming back to the easy answer after Haley's comment took me into a little more of a deeper dive into the side effects of working so much. But how to fix it? First of all, take a deep breath, because you're not going to fix it in 5 seconds. You didn't get into it in 5 seconds. It's been your whole career that it's been building up. So it doesn't take 5 seconds to come out of it. But the first thing to do is notice. Notice when you're doing things that shouldn't be on your plate, that aren't your responsibility, that have you working later than everybody else or earlier than everybody else, or staying behind to finish up while everybody else leaves the meeting and goes on their merry way and is able to let go of what it is. So notice is absolutely step one. Then ask yourself, should I be doing this? And if I'm going to do this, is it permanent or is it temporary? And if I shouldn't be doing it, who should be doing it and how do I get it off my plate? And this is like slow and low kind of cooking, right? We don't want to like come into the office or the virtual office or the remote office and just like turn to everybody and say like, it's all over for you. I'm not doing it anymore. I can't take it anymore. I'm going to get up on the table and stomp my feet. We don't want to blow things up. We want to back out of all of the things we've taken on so that we have some headspace to decide what we actually want. And what we actually want exists. A lot of times when we take on all of this extra work and end up with these side effects of exhaustion and anxiety and bitterness and resentment and fatigue and like full on burnout, we're doing it in the interest of being interested in something again, which sounds a little bit weird and backwards because it's actually breaking us. But we're on this quest that we don't know how to go on, which is that we want to find what we want to be, how we want things to be, what we want to be doing with our lives, with our careers. And we think if we keep trying things, if we keep saying yes to things, we are going to end up getting those things, getting what we want. The actual side effect, the actual effect of what happens when you just take on more work for the sake of pleasing and taking on more work and working and being the best contributor you can be, is that you're so buried in the things you don't like to do but feel urgent that your brain doesn't have the space to think about what you actually want to be doing. And I always say who you want to be when you grow up, right? When we were kids, people would ask you, what do you want to do when you grow up? Or what do you want to be when you grow up? And we had all these ideas, firefighter, teacher, or a waitress, or whatever it was that we saw out in the world that looked fun. I had decided when I was little that whatever job I had, I wanted to have a cash register. I do not have a cash register, so I have not made that dream come true yet. But I have worked retail, and so I did have some years of playing with cash registers, and I love them. I still love them. But when our brain is so full of the things that we're doing just because we do them, because that's how we do things and that's always what we do, we don't have the space to think about what we actually want. So noticing is step one, asking ourselves the questions, should this be mine or not mine? If it should not be mine, whose should it be? And how do I get it off my plate? And then that's like the slow boil, right? That's the slow and low cooking to get ourselves to a point where our brains have space to think and decide. And then we get to start choosing what we want. And a lot of times that starts with us choosing what we don't want anymore, right? And getting sort of the cobwebs out of our head of what do I not want anymore? What am I trying to escape? What am I trying to get rid of? And then deciding, well, what do I actually like? What do I actually enjoy doing? And what jobs fit that? What careers fit that? Do I want to be working for a corporate environment, a nonprofit environment, healthcare, working for myself? There are a lot of choices. We tell ourselves that there aren't that many choices because it is can be challenging to think of that. As you all know, I always recommend working with a coach, and hey, that's what I do. But whether it's with a coach or books or journaling or a mentor or a constructive friend, not somebody who's going to say like, oh, don't rock the boat. That's not a constructive friend. You owe it to yourself as a human living this human experience and having just this one time that we know of on earth in this consciousness. You have this opportunity to decide how it goes from here. So it's not about regretting the past. It's not about telling yourself what you can't have. It's about starting to set boundaries and limits on your time and your brain space so that you can start thinking about what you actually want. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I will be back next Tuesday with another episode. If you have questions or you have specific topics you want me to talk about, please feel free to shoot me a DM or comment here in the comments of whichever venue you're watching me in. And we'll see you next time. Take care.